You want the best for your car? You already watch our tutorials.
So the best place for the best deal is to buy from the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the bulk shock absorbers used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Turn your engine off, pull up the handbrake, pull on the bonnet release lever and open the bonnet. To disassemble the front shock absorbers, it is first important to remove the windscreen frame and the windscreen wipers. Before removing the windscreen wipers, place adhesive tape in order to keep a precise indication of their location at the end position. This will make it possible to correctly position them when reassembling. Remove the nut covers from the wiper arms using a flathead screwdriver, and using a 13mm offset spanner, loosen the nuts. Remove the windscreen wiper arms by making small movements up and down. If they're not coming out, we recommend taking windscreen wiper remover to facilitate the process. Take out the waterproofing joint on the windscreen bay by pulling it upwards from one end to the other. Then, using a prong, remove the 3 retaining rivets from the windscreen bay. Then, lift the frame. Using a Torx T45 spanner and a 24mm offset spanner, unscrew the nut, holding the upper suspension strut support bearing by a few threads. You can also use the specific tool used in the video, which will make your task much easier. In order to change the front shock absorbers on your vehicle, you must lift the front of the car and remove the wheels to have complete access to the suspension system. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels, raise the front of the vehicle and put it in the 2-axle stance. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely, before carrying out this step. You will then be able to take off the wheels. Don't forget to slide them under the vehicle. During this operation, you will work on the steering system of your vehicle. Checks on tire alignment, when carried out by a professional, will guarantee that your steering system has been perfectly aligned and is in good working order. You now have to remove the stabilizer link bar. It connects the stabilizer link so that the wheels are always in contact with the ground. To do this, we recommend watching our video how to replace the sway bar links Astra J. Remove the brake hose from its housing. As the components to be removed are very often seized up, don't hesitate to brush and to use penetrating oil to facilitate the operation. Using an 18 offset spanner, unscrew the 2 screws on the shock absorber base. Hold the nut with a ratchet and an 18mm socket. Then remove them. You can use a hammer to help you. The base of the shock absorber should now be free. Finish unscrewing the top suspension strut support bearing. Once released, hold the shock absorber in one hand and finish off the unscrewing with the other hand. Remove the shock absorber. Remove the suspension strut support bearing. In order to change the shock absorber, you must now separate it from the spring. You can find a description of the tool used in the video, which we think is most adapted to the operation. Careful! Pay attention as you compress the spring. This is not without risk and should be undertaken paying very careful attention. Plug the tool in a vise. This will make it easier to use. Install the shock absorber on the tool, then tighten the mobile flange against the spring, controlling its position carefully. Check that they're properly held by the locking studs and slowly compress the spring using the socket wrench and the appropriate socket. Once the shock absorber is free in the spring, you can use a 24mm offset spanner and a Torx T45 spanner to loosen the shock absorber strut support bearing. Then remove the lower suspension strut support bearing assembly. Remove the shock absorber from the spring. Remove the stopper from the stem. Then remove the other parts if they have come loose during disassembly. When changing the shock absorbers, you can also change the suspension strut support bearing as well as the shock absorber stop and its protective sleeve. You can also reuse them if they're not too worn down. Insert the sleeve into the spring. If it has fallen off during disassembly, refit the lower support to the spring.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.
You will find the bulk parts and products used in the video on the Mr. Auto site and in the link in the description. Take your new shock absorber. Push on the actuator to remove the security lock. Unscrew the lock nut on the stem. Remove the washer. You need to pump it several times on the actuator to get the system going. Put the stop plate in place. Position everything in the spring. Pay careful attention to place the bottom of the spring so that it supports the shock absorber flange. Then install the suspension strut support bearing. And finish by screwing in the lug nut onto the shock absorber stem. Tightly fix it in place using a 24mm offset wrench while holding the stem with a 6mm Allen key. Unscrew the spring compression tool, paying attention to the position of the spring on the lower shock absorber support. You have now finished preparing the new part. Using a wire brush, clear the hub carrier to make it easier to insert the shock absorber. Start by putting the shock absorber back in place, then put the top suspension strut support bearing back in place and screw the retaining screw back in, first by hand, and then finish with a ratchet. Thread the shock absorber into the stub axle. Then put the screws back in place. Finalize the tightening of the screws with a Torx wrench. Reclip the brake hose. Put the stabilized link bar into its upper housing and screw it in. Finish off the tightening with a Torx wrench. Put the wheels of the vehicle back on and lower it to the ground. Finish tightening the suspension strut support bearings retaining nut with a Torx spanner. Put the windscreen bay back in place. To reinstall the rivets, insert them into their slots and finish by pressing on the center part. Replace the seal. Reassemble the windscreen wiper arms without exaggerating when tightening them in place. Operation completed.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.